My name is Natasha Dorch, and I am a proud Ward 8 resident, living here since 2016, after serving in the U.S. Army for 13 years and completing 2 combat tours in Iraq. I've been blessed to be able to maintain steady employment until 2020, during the pandemic when I could not maintain childcare and work at the same time. That's what led me to get connected with Grant Associates, a TANF employment program provider with DHS. They gave me the trainings and connections needed to get connected with temporary work. And I'm here today to gain permanent employment and relaunch my career. I'm grateful for Mayor Bowser, DHS, and Grant Associates for making today's opportunity happen for me and almost 100 other district residents. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am really happy to see everybody. I want to thank Natasha for those words and for highlighting the types of services that we have available to our residents, provided by DC government agencies, that's really focused on making sure that everybody gets the support that they need to have a good paying, a high paying job that allows you to take care of your families right here in Washington, D.C. And sometimes there's so many programs that we work really hard on that people don't know about them. That's why it's really important to spend time on our website, talk to school resource officers, talk to case managers that you may be engaged with, so that you know all of the resources that are available to you. I want to spend one moment to acknowledge 2 members of my team who work for me in Ward 8, who are called the Ward 8 Mokers, who are the mayor's representatives to make sure that every agency is providing what you need. So you should know who your Mokers are. Byron Johnson. Where's Byron? I can't see you. Oh, here he is over here in the green shirt. And Christina Washington. Give Christina a big round of applause. So school principals, ANC commissioners, families, wherever you are, the Ward 8 Mokers, if you're not getting what you need from an agency, they're here to help you. And also, your ANC commissioners, they're volunteers. They raised their hand to say, I want to help 2,000 people in my neighborhood make the government work for them. So Cheryl Moore, Commissioner Cheryl Moore in the front, and Shaquan Hudson. There's Commissioner Hudson right in the front. So I want to thank them for their service as well. Now we're here to make a fantastic announcement that Director Zeilinger and the team at the Department of Human Services, who you are going to hear from in just a little bit, have some really good news. We have focused on the emergency funds that came from the federal government to support our recovery from COVID, and we have looked at the best ways to use those funds. And part of those funds come from a fund called the Pandemic Emergency Assistance Fund. So Director Zeilinger looked at the best way to use those funds and help DC families. And today we are announcing a one-time grant that is going to TANF families in the amount of $1,000 to help you get ready for the start of school. That's not bad. So by the end of the month, 15,000 families in D.C. who are enrolled in TANF will get this $1,000 grant payment. So we know that that's going to help you get ready with new uniforms, right? Haircuts, supplies, shoes, hairdos, That's going to help you make sure if your kids need, if they need supplemental supplies for computers or software or even extracurricular activities, that you can be ready for those things. That's on top of some other things that we have announced to help you get ready for school. On Monday, for example, we talked about a high school internship program. And when I talked about it, we needed 300 more slots and we needed employers to step up and do it. And after that announcement, 78 more slots were opened up. But what that allows is juniors and seniors in high schools to be advanced interns, earn credit in college, earn credit in high school, and earn a $16 per hour internship. So there are all of these types of opportunities available in DC government. There's also, and this is one of my favorites, a scholarship. And actually, I think the deadline to apply is today for kids who you may want to take different tutoring sessions or other extracurricular activities, and they require a payment. There's some private organization that's providing them. If you have something like that, look for that scholarship as well, the out-of-school time scholarship, so your kids can be engaged for the remainder of this academic semester. So with that, the last thing I have to talk about, this one's a little bit tougher, but it's so necessary. You know what I'm about to say. No shots, no schools, moms and dads, kids. And we know that in the pandemic, a lot of us got disconnected from our doctor's appointments. We missed some. And because of that, our kids aren't up to date on their immunization. Now, I'm not even talking about COVID. I'm talking about the regular stuff, measles, mumps, rubella. The last thing we want is for there to be an outbreak of a preventable disease. And that is why everybody is required to have their paperwork and their immunizations up to date. So now, if you haven't done that, you might want to call your pediatrician or look on our websites for pop-up vaccination clinics, because we need you to demonstrate that your kids have their vaccine. That is for everyone's safety. So with that, I want to introduce Director Laura Zeilinger. She is responsible for the Department of Human Services, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about how we're supporting families, not just with this program, but, to make sure that you have everything you need in the district. Director Zeilinger.
Good morning, or almost still morning, everyone. I am so happy to be with you today and to be able to share this fantastic news. I want to also first thank Natasha. We applaud you for sharing your story, for everything that you have done and the resilience that you've demonstrated in the way that you care for your children and in your engagement around your employment. You set a tremendous example that even when it's super hard about what is possible, and you sharing your story is really a gift to the entire community, and I just want to thank you for that gift. I want to thank our partners who are hosting us today. There is a job fair happening inside, sponsored by Maximus and Grant Associates, and there are some other resources in there for families, particularly families who are receiving TANF, so please go check it out. There may be something that you need that you can access there, whether you're looking for employment or you're just looking to make sure that you're connected to whatever services you need. Please come in and check it out. It's there. And I want to especially acknowledge, first I'm going to acknowledge my team at the Department of Human Services, Anthea Seymour, the administrator over Economic Security Administration, and the many members of her team who have worked hard to make sure that these resources you need, you get them and you get them on time. I want to take a moment to acknowledge what makes us different here in Washington, D.C., and acknowledge the leadership of our mayor. The mayor has continued to support our mission which is really at the end of the day to make sure that families have the things that they need and they have a fair shot. Well, let's talk for a minute about what does it mean to have a fair shot. We're providing this payment, and I'll tell you, because a lot of folks have asked, there's nothing, if you're receiving TANF already, there is nothing that you need to do to get this payment. It is going to show up on your card before the end of August. And it's approximately $1,000 in every single household. There's about 15,000 households in our community who receive TANF will receive that right around the time that we're going back to school. So some of us are in school now. I see some children here, and some of us haven't been in school for a little while. Now, as we think about what it was like to be back in school, we took a number of classes, right? We took science, math, social studies, history, English. Well, let me tell you a little bit about how some of those things are connected to this $1,000 and why we think it is so important that parents have money in their hands, because you are the experts in what you need for your children. And rather than someone tell you what you can do with that money, we're giving you the cash so you can do the thing you need. So let's talk about the science. So human beings think with our brains. That's true for all of us. And when we're under a tremendous amount of stress, like I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills, or my kids' shoes don't fit and they need shoes for gym class, that creates a certain amount of stress. And when we're under that kind of stress, that happens in the front of our brains, and the rest of our brains that do the planning, the executive functioning, and a lot of the things that are required of us around work and around just managing life are quieter, because what we're focused on is the crisis that's going on in our lives. That's science. It doesn't make anybody smarter. That you can have a whole lot of privilege and means, or you could have none, but when you're under that kind of stress, it affects everybody's brain. So part of the reason to make sure people have resources is to decrease the scarcity, decrease the stress, so that you can do the things you need to do as parents. And it's math. We all know those bills add up now more than ever with inflation, right? And I don't need to tell you why you need money in order to balance your family budget. So I'll just leave the math there. And I'm going to talk a minute about history, because not everybody in this community has the same stress around money. And not everybody in the TANF program looks the same. We have a wealth gap here. We have an opportunity gap, and it's our job to fix that. Nonetheless, people deserve money. They deserve cash. They know what to do with it. And too many of our social programs don't recognize the intellect, the ability, and the opportunities are not yet distributed equally. So with that history in mind, one of the best things we can do is to make sure people have what they need so that you and your children can realize all of your gifts and God-given potential, because they're all the same as everybody else's, if not more, and we want to see you realize that. So decreasing the scarcity is part of that. So I don't need to tell you about that history. I certainly don't need to tell you about how hard it is. But I want to acknowledge those things, because there are far too many people out there who believe that if you're receiving TANF, you must not want to work. If you're receiving TANF, you're not hustling hard enough. And if your kids don't have what they need when they show up to school, that people feel like you're being looked at as a parent like it's your fault and you're not doing everything. And it's not okay. We know that's not true, which is why the other lesson is one of English. It's one of storytelling. It's one of narratives. We have to start telling the true stories about what people are facing, the ways that they're making it work, and the way that they're prioritizing their children with the resources that they have in order to understand the possibilities. I just came from a conference. There are people from many states, and in some states with the same exact money, they're not giving it to families in the form of cash, because they don't trust how they're going to spend it. That's not our values. We know what you want is to take care of your kids because you've told us. We believe your stories, and want you to be able to do all of those things that you're trying to do for your children. So just wanted to acknowledge that and acknowledge a couple of other things to make sure you know about them. So as your children are going back to school, the other resource that's available to you that you should be seeing is a resource to help with food for families who are also receiving SNAP. So earlier this summer, we announced that through the DC School Breakfast Program and the Pandemic Emergency PBT program, there's $41 million in food assistance that will support more than 80,000 children and teens in our community to access healthy meals. And so that is another way, we know grocery bills are high, to help. So with that, I will leave it at this place, that as you leave here today, please take advantage of the resources are here. If you haven't seen your TANF vendor in a while, as your kids are going back to school, reach out, get connected. There are resources available to you, not only with the cash assistance, but to help you with whatever your goals are for your family. And we're proud to be here to serve you today. So we've got a number of employers inside, resources inside, and I want to thank you again for participating with us, and thank our sponsors today.
Oh, well, all right, everybody. So we heard about the science, the math, and the English and history, and a focus on the district's values in supporting our families. I do want to acknowledge the employers who are inside, who are waiting to talk to DC residents, and we know that they need employees, and we want to make sure that DC residents have good paying jobs. So Unity Healthcare, Riderwood Erickson Senior Living, Brookfield Properties, Atlas Construction, Allied Universal, So Others Might Eat, Cobra Security. We also have resource partners including the Shelters to Shutters, House of Ruth, DC Public Library, as well as So Others Might Eat. So with that, we'll take a few questions. Questions from the media first, and then I'll have time for some community questions after. Media questions? Yes, Mark.
Yes, just a couple of housekeeping on this. Is it the same amount for every family regardless of the size of the family? And you've said 1,000, about 1,000. Do you know the exact amount of the check that people will get?
So the district received $14.7 million. We have just under 15,000 households who are receiving TANF at the end of July. That amount is going to be split up among our households, and so it'll be right around $1,000. We're still making sure that we, as we go through all of our processing, that we're using every penny available to make sure it's cash in the hands of families and that it's evenly distributed. So it'll be right around the $1,000 mark.
And do these families need to do anything to apply, or is this just going to show up in their account?
It is just going to show up on their EBT card.
And if it doesn't, they should just reach out to their vendor or their case.
If it doesn't, so all the information is on our website. They can call our call center, but it will.
And by the end of August.
By the end of August.
And then Mayor Bowser, can I ask, just kind of, from a parent's perspective, why did you feel it was important to spend this money, to use this money in this way for these families?
Well, I think that our agencies, especially the director for the Department of Human Services, is always looking for ways for us better to support families. Director Zeilinger already talked about how we have used every bit of the federal assistance to help families who receive SNAP to get more food, especially at this time of inflation where we know the dollar just doesn't go as far. But back to school is another stressful check-in that we're doing with families. It is so critical that our kids get off to the right start at school. We know that we're going to spend several years making up for the disconnect of kids from school because of COVID. And everything that we can do to support kids, schools, and families is just going to help a little bit more. Yes.
Mayor Bowser, what do you say to people that this is just payment that's already done in the private sector? You have nonprofits who may not offer this type of money, but this type of assistance for TANF families.
I don't follow you, the question.
Well, the point is that you're just adding more money to organizations that already do this in the private or in the nonprofit sector.
Well, we're not going to any organization. It's a direct payment to DC families. And it is pandemic assistance that was part of the big federal program to help people recover from COVID. And we're still, while we're open, while the kids are going to go back to open schools, we are still recovering. And I can't really think of a better investment than in helping young people kick off the school year right. Next week, we're going to be talking about all of the programs together that we've been able to put together to help families, schools, and communities be ready for school. But this is about the most important work that we're going to do, helping our kids recover from what they lost with a year and a half out of the building. Yes.
Mayor, is there anywhere that the district will ensure that this money is going to be spent really in the children and back to the school?
Well, you heard directly from Director Zeilinger. Sometimes in government we spend a lot of time on rules and regulations that create red tape, that slow down payments, and don't let families make decisions about what's really necessary for their kids and families. And so we know if we're giving moms and families what they need to get an early start for the school year, then they're going to use it for what their families need. Some families will decide to use it all on food. Some will, all their kids will need new shoes, or they may need supplemental educational materials. Or, you know, quite frankly, they may need a family night out. And that's okay. That's okay. Yep.
For a place for you and your kids to be safe. My son was killed on the 29th of July of last year. I had went to, they sent me to Virginia Williams. I had went there to try to get sheltering. They told me that I couldn't get sheltering because I already have a unit. I have to have a unit. I have 8 other children that's there with me. I have a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old, and an 18-year-old that I'm constantly guiding in and out my house because of my son.
Okay, ma'am.
So I'm just trying to get some assistance to move. I don't care about anything else, just to protect my other kids. My smaller kids
So you
don't
actually
sleep at
need,
night.
all right, you need shelter for several children.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to ask our Ward 8 Mocha, who's right behind you, to help get some additional information, okay?
Thank you.
Yes.
How you doing, Miss Mayor Bowser?
Good. Thank you.
I got another with an add-on with her shelter. Why don't you just put her in the shelter that you just built?
I'm sorry?
Put her family in the shelter that you just built. It's
Well,
hold on.
Hold up.
It's
Hold
six-
on.
it's
Excuse me.
It's
Now,
6 shelters here.
Excuse me. You don't know her situation, and I'm not going to talk
Okay,
about it
I'ma
in
put it on
public.
level.
If you
It's
have
6
a question about
I got one,
for
I got
you,
one, I got one,
okay,
I got one.
thank you.
It's 6 shelters here in Washington D.C.
There are more than 6 shelters.
Okay, it's probably more than that, right?
Uh-huh.
Washington D.C. ain't nothing but 68.34 miles. How come every last one of them's overpopulated with people, and the shelters that you talking about, these people can go to, they can't get in a van. They can't get in these places. It's people right now that's younger than me or older than me that's trying to get in these shelters right now. Like she said, she went to Virginia Williams. A lot of people go to Virginia Williams here in Washington, D.C. and get turned around, regardless if they are in a family household or a single family home. Like me, I'm a father of 3 kids. I went to Virginia Williams one time, and they turned me around. You know what they told me? I couldn't get no help because I don't have the rights or what I need for my baby mothers. everybody, I mean, 50% black people here, or black men, cannot get the right help from their baby mamas or their mother's child to receive the actual help for them. You saying you got these programs for these kids. She's talking about the classes, going back to work and going back to school and stuff like that. How were you worrying about the school when you got more than more stuff that these kids actually need? Y'all creating these programs. Hold on. Y'all creating these programs where these kids can't even go to the recreation centers in their neighborhoods. They can't even go outside in front of their building because if you have too many police officers in this side of town that's stopping black men for trying to take care of their kids. Or you got black men that's trying to do everything in their power that you said they can sign up for these programs that you are creating. Right?
Yes.
But and since I've been living here in 28 years, I never really seen you actually help nobody.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, for real.
I got it. Next question.
Mayor, I'm not on.
Oh, I have before. Okay, let me finish the press questions and then yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. A couple questions.
Yes.
So, in terms of the housing, this is more for Ms. Zollinger. So, in terms of connecting the broader issues with housing, what's being done as far as addressing that within the schools? You know, what connecting, getting a sense of how many students are housing insecure and connecting them with resources. What's being done on that level in preparation for the school year and throughout the school year?
Well, we work with families, and we have so many adults in schools that can help identify where we have families and kids that have additional needs. So that includes everybody from the teacher to the school counselors, to the attendance clerks, to the principals, the assistant principals, the school nurses, and the school psychologists. All of those adults are in our buildings to help connect families with resources. Now, they're not clairvoyant. All right, so I need families, when you walk into a school building, to know that everybody there is there to support your child's success. And not just academically, social and emotionally. And they also know how to connect to all of the agencies of the government.
Yeah, one more press question.
And each school has a homeless liaison.
All right, so in regards to the $1,000 that's coming at the end of the month, what potential is there for more to come throughout the school year? Because you still have winter break. You have
this
spring.
Is a one-time payment.
But
so
there's exploring the possibilities of more, looking within the budget.
Well, we're looking at our federal dollars, and this is going to be a one-time payment. Now, keep in mind, that's in addition to the monthly assistance that TANF provides. Yes.
Topics.
Okay, I have one more behind you, Mark, and then I'll come back to you with off topic.
Yeah, just talking about the conditions of schools, concerns over the conditions and, the number of work orders that are put in was raised earlier this week by council members. And I was just wondering if you had any, response, or if you talked with, I think it's DGS that takes care of, making sure that everything's taken care of as far as the physical,
We feel very good about where we are with the start of school. In fact, today I'll have one of my last briefings from all of our agencies that have something to do with school opening. From the Chancellor of Public Schools was making sure that we have our teachers in place and everybody has the clearances that they need. To our DDOT, who has done a Herculean effort in making sure that we've hired almost 80 new crossing guards, to MPD and all of our out-of-school officials who are making sure that our safe passages work is happening in our schools, to all of our principals who are welcoming teachers this Friday. So we are just planning for a very exciting year, a school year with our kids. Yes. Hold on one second. I want to do the press, and then I promise I'll answer your questions. Yes.
So very quickly, any update on the National Guard request?
We don't have an update currently, Mark, but we will get that information out just as soon as we have it. Yes.
I
Yes.
have two other real
Yes,
quick.
okay.
The CDC recently changed the guidelines for COVID protocols, loosening them up. Do you have plans to follow that when it comes to schools as far as test to stay or returning when exposed? Does DCPS plan to keep in step with the CDC guidelines?
I don't know if they're exactly what the CDC guidelines are, but DC Public Schools will update families. I think this afternoon they're having a town hall and will update families on all of what to expect for back to school as it relates to COVID protocols. In our public charter schools, will be updating their families as well.
Anything to change in light of the changes from the CDC? Because we haven't seen any changes announced by DCPS yet.
They will announce today. And I don't have on the top of my head how they compare with the CDC.
And then my last question is about polio. The majority of states make it very easy for residents to check their polio vaccine history to find out if, in fact, they were vaccinated for polio. D.C. does not allow the individual to do that. It only allows a healthcare provider to do that, which makes it very cumbersome for individuals. Do you have any plans to change that, to make it easier, given what we're seeing now in New York and other places where polio...
Let me check in with DOH about that. I hadn't known what the issue was. I had heard people talk about not knowing if they've been vaccinated. So let's check in with DOH about that. Yes.
Mayor Bowser, I understand that the DC Medicaid MCO contracts is in the Contract Appeals Board process. I understand that. But do you have a sense of when you will present the awards to, well, the contract winners to the council?
Yeah, now you're testing my memory here, because there is an appeals process, which is not unusual for large contracts to be appealed. And so what's different about the Medicaid contracts is we would like the Contracts Appeals Board to rule so that we don't move our members, our plan members, back and forth between plans. So we would really like for the Contract Appeals Board to give us a ruling so we know who the final contractors are. And if that requires any movement of our residents, it will only be one move, not two moves. So I don't know exactly when that's going to be, and we would like to present the contracts to the council at that time. Yes. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not sure if my question is directly to you or
Okay.
if it's direct. I believe it's directly to DHS.
Okay.
Earlier she mentioned that families that receive food stamps and TANF, that you all have some type of program where families receive extra food stamps due to the pandemic and because of their kids, like going back to school. So I am a DC resident, but I've never received those benefits of getting extra food stamps. And I just wanted to know, what are the qualifications? Because my daughter don't go to DCPS. She go to a private school, but she's there on a scholarship.
So families who have who qualify for free and reduced meals in school, and we share the data with the state with OSSI, with the state superintendent for education, is how that we do eligibility. So it's you would have your child receives meals at school, or you're receiving SNAP. There may be, I don't know the rules around private school. There may be a way to make sure if you're eligible, you get that. So we'll make, the person behind you will take your information. We'll make sure we get you a clear answer on your specific situation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this will be our last. Okay. 1 and 2. That's our last question.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
You want to
Bowser.
put your phone down?
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
My question is, for the mask mandate has been, I'm gonna say, relaxed for the school year. Myself as a parent, my children have never had COVID, and it's all because I was very strict on my children wearing masks at their school. They attend weekly in Ward 5. I was very strict on it, but my children have had to come home on quarantine at least 10 times last year, but they have never had COVID. I feel that because flu season is coming, it will get cold, kids will get sick. I don't feel that the mask should be relaxed. I think it should stay strictly in place, because myself as a parent, my children get their flu shots, they're fully vaccinated, and I'm a mom of a child that had HLHS, and I understand how the flu and certain viruses can attack the respiratory system, and some children that can die from it. I have a preemie baby. She just turned 5. She's never been sick since birth. So for myself and other families, I feel that once children enter school, they should continue to stay masked.
I got it. So you recognize that we have been without a mask mandate in DC public schools
But they will be in a confined space.
for many months. And as has already been asked, there's a lot of CDC guidance that DC public schools will update on this afternoon that will also impact quarantine and requirements. I have been very impressed by in school communities where the value is on respecting people's choices with masking. So there will be teachers and students who will be masked, and there will be other families who choose not to mask. Okay. You bet. Yes.
Yes, Miss Muriel Bowser. My name is LaShonda Rice, and I have a child that's child with special needs that's in DC public school, and like the Kramer, the school that she go to, they don't have a program for her. Whereas though, well, she was born with G6PD deficiency, which though she don't have no white blood cells, she can't fight off infections. So they don't have a program in there, whereas though they can separate her from other children. So, like, is there an option that will force her to stay home or go back to school?
I got it. So what let me
I have another question.
Oh.
Yes, I had 2 questions for you.
Okay.
And also I have the scholarship program I would like to know about for my son, because he's a graduating student, and I would like to know more information about that.
Okay, we're going to make sure. So Christina, she may be talking to somebody else right now, but we want to make sure you're connected with the right person at DCPS about the medical needs for your daughter. And we'll get you the information about the advanced internship it sounds like you're interested in. All right, fantastic. All right, I have to close off the questions, but I'm going to stick around if there's anything else we can chat. But I want to thank you for all your questions. I want to wish you good luck in the school year. Get your shots, please. Get your shots. And good luck, everybody. Bye-bye.